Hey, welcome to Speaking of Influence Live. Well, I'm a bit stuck at the moment because I'm still waiting for my guest to arrive. He's having some problems with his Wi-Fi, so he's going to try and join us very shortly. But I wanted to start the stream in case anyone is waiting to watch, and we'll see. Hopefully, Liam can still join us if he can get his Wi-Fi issues sorted out. So sorry if you've been waiting for us to start. We are now here. And we'll start the show officially if and when Liam arrives. But what I thought I would maybe get to now is just say today, for the very first time, some of you who already follow me on social media will know I am now on Clubhouse. Yay, officially on Clubhouse. So you can find me on Clubhouse. If you want to connect, find me on Clubhouse. Let's put up a banner and you can find me on Clubhouse. So it's at John A. Ball. Find me there, and let's stick that up on the screen for you. So at John A. Ball, you can find me in Clubhouse. Please come and connect with me there. So if you have an iPad or an iPhone, you'll be able to join. If you don't, go and reserve your name, get it downloaded. It's the place that everyone is flocking to at the moment and getting lots of value from. And I'm still figuring things out. No doubt that's going to keep me busy for days on end whilst I get familiarized with Clubhouse and find out where to go and start getting connected with lots and lots of people. So do come and connect there. I'd love to see you on Clubhouse and come and join in join in the conversations. Tell me which rooms to go to. If you know how to use it already and you're on there and you're live and you're doing stuff or you're getting some good value, please share that and tell me, who should I be checking out? Who should I go and listen to? I'll see if I can get some of my own stuff in there as well. We'll try and get the Speaking of Influence and Points of Change podcasts in there, and we'll probably launch the Success Books Club, Books reviews in there as well once that's ready to go too. So it's an exciting time. I'm really curious about it. It's a bit complicated trying to figure it out. So definitely need some help with this one. It's a bit like, it seems even a bit more complicated than Instagram, because at least you can kind of scroll through a feed on Instagram. Here in Clubhouse, it's like, well, it gives you a few clues as to where you can go and start checking things out, but it's not very clear. And there isn't it doesn't seem to be a news feed. Maybe I'm missing that yet, but it doesn't seem to be like a news feed like Instagram or Facebook and other platforms have, which could be a good thing. That could be a good thing to stop people from getting too carried away with it and spending too much time there. If you're on Clubhouse, please do come and connect. Come and find me, or drop in the chat your connection. So myself and anyone else who wants to connect can do that with you, and we'd like to see you in there. We're just waiting still to see if Liam arrives. Otherwise, if he can't get in, we will reschedule. So I'm just going to see how he's getting on and see if we can get him to join us. And if we can, then we'll carry on with him as and when. So one thing I particularly like about new social media opportunities is that it's also going to give new people a chance to connect. Now, I really like how Clubhouse have done it. Whoever's behind this is very clever. They've created a level of exclusivity to it. So some people will know and are already feeling frustrated that it's only on iOS at the moment. So it's only in Apple Store. So if you're on Android, you can't access Clubhouse yet, which seems really unfair. And it's just lucky for me that although I don't have an iPhone yet, I do have an iPad and other Apple devices. So I've been able to get in there and start checking it out. If you don't have that yet, it seems like you're just going to have to wait. But the level of exclusivity is a really good marketing strategy just for getting people set up and prepared for that. And good way to think about doing perhaps your own marketing of like, can you create exclusivity? A client of mine who I worked with ages ago, I helped him. It's like the guys that are working as a dentist, had his own dentist surgery and still does. And so I remembered being told by somebody who has been a business mentor to me, who I've learned from, about a strategy that he'd employed with another dentist of creating an exclusive client list and making it by invite only, and firing all of the clients who he didn't like, who like people who were like recalcitrant, didn't turn up for their appointments, and people who just didn't like, found unpleasant. Just get rid of the clients you don't like, keep the ones you do, and tell them that the clinic is now invite only. Do it out, make it feel exclusive for people, and it becomes a very attractive prospect when you have that level of exclusivity. Like, one of the things I've seen posted in various social media channels more than just about anywhere else at the moment has been, can I get into Clubhouse? A lot of that has been me posting it, but it's certainly something I've seen from other people, or saying, let's start a chain for getting people into Clubhouse. So Liam is here. We're going to get you into the live stream, and we still have enough time to start the show. So I'm going to roll the titles and bring Liam into the stream so that we can have a chat. Bear with me as we roll titles. Welcome to Speaking of Influence, the show about public speaking and presentation skills and influence and persuasion, with your host, John Ball. The Speaking of Influence podcast is published and distributed using Buzzsprout. If you want to get your podcast started today, check out the link in the show notes. Great stuff. Well, I'm really glad, Liam, that you've been able to come and join us today, and you got your Wi-Fi issues sorted out. I was just having a bit of a ramble on my own about Clubhouse and being on there. And are you on Clubhouse yet?
I am on Clubhouse, and I was actually on a call an hour ago, and it went over. And then obviously, I think Clubhouse has brought my Wi-Fi down. So it's a formidable platform which you can really get immersed in if you spend too much time on. So, but it's great. You're a new joiner, I see.
I just got on there today, and so I reserved my name on there a little while back. As soon as some people saying, "Oh, even if you haven't got your access, go and reserve your name so that you've got it," which I did. And today, having a chat with a guest, someone who's coming on my other podcast next week, in a couple of weeks, sorry. And he said, "Oh, I've got an invite." I said, "You want?" And so yeah, okay, thanks. I'm on. So I'm in. What should I be doing? What should I be checking out? What do you reckon? What's good?
Well, the first day, I've only been on for 3 days, but the first day I literally just sat back, listened, tried taking it all in. But, it's that sort of, how does it work? What's the functionality like? And then you know what? Once you get involved in a couple of sessions and start talking to people, you really see the beauty of the platform. People are very sharing, very giving. I mean, it's like the golden ticket for anyone that wants advice from entrepreneurs and successful businesses, people that failed in business, people that have, come through real struggles in life. And, right now we're all in a position where some businesses are up, some businesses are down.
Right.
Especially in my sector, hospitality, there's lots of people there sharing stories, and it's quite comforting in a way. So if you're not on Clubhouse, I don't work for Clubhouse, but get on there.
Yeah, absolutely. I know one of my LinkedIn friends already posting. I was like, "Oh, waiting for it to come out on Android." I was like, "Well, I was like, don't wait if you can. If you can get, if you can, the sooner you can get on there, the better." I think by the time it comes out for Android as well, it could already be a lot happening. And
I would say one thing I've learned: the notifications are. They get on top of you a little bit, so switch them off of an evening, because otherwise you won't have any downtime. You start to work out what's good for you. At the moment, in day 3, I'm just giving 2 hours a day to the platform, joining. I've been on a few panels and as a moderator, and I'm enjoying it. It's a good platform to connect to people around the world. So it's fantastic.
I'm going to have a chat with my good friend Ash Borland, who usually knows all about these kinds of things. I reckon he'll be able to give me some insights as to how to utilize it properly as well. But great. I'm really excited about it. I think it looks like a great platform, and I'm going to try not to spend too much time on it. there isn't that much time available to me. Yeah. So I'm glad you said that. What really interests me, what you just said there as well, is that there's also people who failed in business coming on, and often we don't get to hear that side of things. We end up with a lot of sort of confirmation bias of the success stories, and don't always get to hear and learn from the people who failed in business and had those sorts of issues come through as well. So that sounds really, like a great thing as well. It might give people a bit more of a realistic expectations about how things go in the business world.
For me personally, I think those stories are more beneficial to me than just hearing about how someone's made millions and millions of pounds. You want to know how they've done it. And there's no way that you haven't gone through some form of failure or learned from mistakes. And they're the real insights that I like to take from these platforms. You know, okay, you've done very well. Well done you. But how did you get there? What did you learn along the way? And, you know, if I can pull some of that knowledge in and how my businesses operate, you know, then it's worthwhile for me.
Yeah, that sounds good. So let's get into talking a bit about your businesses and your journey for that. When we had a chat, when we were talking about you coming on the show, I was fascinated by your history, your work history. Like, it's really colourful, and you've done a few different things, starting off with professional football.
Yeah, so I was a professional football player at West Ham and Leicester City many moons ago now. It was great times of my life. You know, I've been speaking on a few panels today about failure and success. And can you imagine at an age of 16 to 19, so much success within the football game, you know, being talked up about being one of the next best players, and you build that ego up so high, and that's your channel vision. You know, you're going to be a footballer, you're going to be a footballer. But what happens then is I had to retire at just before my 20th birthday party. And, you know, that brought my world down. It was a crushing defeat for me because I didn't know what I wanted to do. And, you know, football for me, I look back with fond memories. I met some amazing people, and some of them are clients for me today. They use the concierge service at Posh Cockney for traveling, etc. But, you know, I think you have these journeys in life and these obstacles that at the time you think is your only thing in life. I was only going to be a footballer. And if somebody told me 10 years, 15 years down the line, you're going to be doing this, I would never have believed you. But right now, you know, it's great to look back with fond memories. I learned a lot. I'm a serial winner. I hate losing. We spoke about this before.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I've taken that into business as well. Because sometimes if you're too stuck on winning, it can affect your judgment a little bit. I don't know if you agree. Yeah, sometimes you need to think, you need to have that helicopter vision and see all points of view. And I feel like as I'm getting older and wiser, I'm starting to take better care in how I look at situations. And sometimes, you know, the short win isn't always the long-term gain, you know?
Yeah. I've had some chats recently, especially on my other show, which is called Points of Change, which isn't really even officially launched yet, and just doing recordings in preparation for the launch. But I did a live chat with my friend and colleague James, and we talk about all sorts of different things. We had a chat this morning and a few weeks ago. When we talked about burnout, one of the things I talked about in that conversation was about goal fatigue, and how that comes from being very fixated on just one outcome, and heading to that, and like it has to be that. Like you might be cutting yourself off from other options or possibilities and opportunities, and also if you don't get it, sometimes if you don't get it exactly as you sort of said, this is how I want it, you feel like you failed. Yeah. Even though there could be a way to get something better, or to just have something different and be okay with that. That goals really are more of it's good to have, but they're really just a direction to move in more than anything else. And it's great I think it is one of the lessons we get as we get more experienced of figuring out that we need some flexibility. If we're not flexible with these things, if we can't roll with it and flow with these things, we're likely to break if we're too rigid. And so it makes a huge difference. And if you don't want to get burnt out with your goals and get fed up of going for stuff and not hitting it exactly, get a bit more flexible with that, and just set yourself directions to move in, and be open to the possibilities along the way. I think it's generally a much healthier way forward. Well, whatever you do, keep moving.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah, absolutely. So what I think is also interesting is I sometimes like talking about the whole identity thing. And like you mentioned about the sort of football identity, the footballer identity. Was it difficult to move away from that, or to get yourself out of that that's who I am kind of way of thinking?
Yes, it was for a long time, because you're still waiting for that call from the manager from some club that are going to offer you another contract, even though I knew in my mind I couldn't play any longer with injuries, etc. But you still have that young boy's dream of being a footballer. Everyone wants to be a professional athlete. So, you know, when that's taken away from you, you know, you look at your friends, your family, and you're not the footballer anymore. You're not Liam the footballer. You're Liam, And that was a real change for me, because I was like, okay, now I have to stand on my own 2 feet. I've got no fellow players or coaches sort of propping me up. I've got to go into the big bad world on my own now. So yeah, that identity is a big thing, and trying to, try and come through that and build a new identity for yourself. And that's exactly what you have to do. If you have any point in your life where you hit a wall, you have to climb over that. And and hopefully you go on the right path.
Yeah, I was one of those kids that was always picked last in sports, so I didn't really have that sort of whole ambition thing for becoming a professional athlete. I had my sights set on some other things, which probably involved being on TV and stuff like that when I was younger. I don't even remember exactly that much what I wanted to be, other than Superman. I think that was the thing I knew I wanted to be when I grew up, but probably knew I wouldn't be. From football, you did move into some other areas, and again, kind of interesting and colorful areas as well. And so you told me a bit about that you ended up doing DJing.
Yeah, so in my last year at Leicester, when I was injury struck, my best friend was at university at Loughborough, and he was a DJ, and we got together and we, as a bit of a hobby actually, just spinning some records in the good old vinyl days. And quite quickly I realized I enjoyed that, and we ended up very, very quickly actually getting some nice gigs and started putting on our own events. And I started to realize I love this world. Wow, it's like literally as a footballer, you have this thought of going out to nightclubs and going to great restaurants, and that was like the lifestyle I wanted. With a DJ and running events, especially nightclubs, you had that anyway. So it was the perfect world, really. I was like, okay, I'm not the footballer anymore, but now I can still have that sort of be in the lights. And so being a DJ, I was that for 2.5 years, I think, as a house doctor, we were called. So we ended up playing all around the world in Ibiza, and it was some great times, putting on boat parties in the Mediterranean, and playing at great clubs like Ministry of Sound, Pasha back in the day. I mean, these clubs are iconic. And so again, some great times as a DJ, and that's really how I got into the hospitality industry, because I started to realize how much money you could earn running your own events, and I started to get a good name for myself in that side of the business. So that catapulted me through.
It's not a completely unusual move for ex-footballers to go into hospitality, right? There's a few who are well known for their bars and restaurants, right?
Yeah, there's plenty. I think it's a nice thing to have. As a footballer, you want something like people can go to my restaurant. A lot of the footballers up north, you got Jamie Carragher, you got Rio Ferdinand, Gary Neville, and those guys, and obviously David Beckham. He's got plenty of places. And Ronaldo actually teamed up with Nadal and somebody else, but they opened a restaurant as well. It's a glamorous thing to have a restaurant, as long as it's run correctly and the offering is fits their sort of synergy, then it's going to work. So yeah, being a restaurateur is a lot of fun.
You set up a brand which is called Posh Cockney, or the Posh Cockney. Where did that come from? What's that name for you?
So Posh Cockney, I love the name, but a friend of mine who is a famous comedian, he's best man at my wedding, I spoke to him about opening a restaurant called Posh Cockney, the Posh Cockney at the time. And it was going to be sort of East End food cooked in somewhere in Notting Hill. So a little bit of a twist on the menu offering. And that was taking a little bit of time to get going. And when I left the Proud Group, I realized I needed to set my own business up. I thought to myself, what name can I have? Because I don't want it to be Liam Norval, because I want it to still have my brand values, but I want to pull out a little bit, not be the front and center all the time. So Posh Cockney, I spoke to some of my coaches, my mentors, and other business associates, and I said, look, what do you think? And they loved it. It's the yin and yang, immediately sticks in people's minds. And I've heard some negative comments at the start, but I think everyone seems to like it now, and I love the name.
It's definitely memorable. It's one of the things I like about it is like you're probably not going to forget that in a hurry if you come across it. What comes under the Posh Cockney brand now?
So we're a multi-service agency in London. We specialize in marketing and PR, so that's digital marketing and traditional marketing. With our PR side, it's influencer marketing as well. We've got a great team here at Posh Cockney. We've had a very strong events and recruitment division before COVID. Unfortunately, that's been stopped a little bit. But the world of virtual events, hybrid events will be the future for a while, I think. And then obviously the luxury concierge and travel, which I touched on, which again has been hit so hard with coronavirus. We've got a beast of a model, and the first year of business we were flying. We picked up some amazing accounts. Our real niche is bringing foreign businesses over to the UK, restaurants, F&B offerings, and launching them in London, so making it their new flagship restaurant. So we opened 4 in the last 16 months. Obviously, we've got plans now to open 4 or 5 new ones, and 2022 is looking really exciting. And then, when COVID, when the vaccines rolled out properly and people and the trust factors there, our events division will kick off again, and people will be able to travel. And hopefully, I'll be doing this interview from a yacht next time we speak.
Oh, that would be great. Yeah, I hope to get to speak again from your yacht. That would be very cool. So you certainly didn't sit on your hands when things went into lockdowns and quarantines. You got a bit busy with your own branding and your presence online, and so you started your own podcast as well. And that's still under hitting my microphone. Sorry, yeah, that's still under the Posh Cockney brand. Yeah,
correct. The Posh Cockney podcast. So take your mind back to March 2020. On the 16th of March, the first lockdown was announced, and I was like, listen, there is no way I'm going to let this past 12 months go to waste. The momentum we'd built, the clients we were getting, the calls, and I thought, okay, the office, we all went remote, and I thought I always wanted to do a podcast, but I never had time, John, because as a business owner, you're working hard, you're working every hour that God gives us. So I did a bit of research on how to set it up, and it's turned out to be quite straightforward. And I think it's all about the guests you have on your show, John. I think you'll agree. It's about learning their experience and what they've been through, and how they've sort of been able to, move with the times, and what they're going to be doing after COVID. Because people were the first season of the Posh Cockney podcast, which was Hospitality News, brought to you by the Industry Titans, was very 100% hospitality focused. It was CEOs, owners of business, and we had some great people on there around the world. And the message and the honesty that I was getting from these guests was, I literally would sit back for 5-10 minutes and just let them talk, and I was learning. I think that's being a podcaster. I think you learn every time you speak to somebody, and that was So even though I was giving great content to people online, I was also learning myself. So I was benefiting. The key then is to go, okay, where can we take this? Where can we go the next step to make this even bigger? Because we were getting such a huge listener rate. So Posh Cockney TV was born on YouTube to then take the videos of the podcast online. But then we realized, hold on, there's a big demand for this, John. People want to see what we're putting out there. The content's good. I then brought out Posh Cockney Productions, where I've now got a production team under the umbrella. And we launched London After Lockdown, which was I spoke to 55 owners of venues and marketing agencies across the industry, and it spread over 5 days, intense filming days, and we released that over 10 episodes, and that was phenomenal. I mean, the channel now gets 100,000 views a month. It's growing every day. It's great to see that people like what we're doing, because I truly believe that once this is over, and business starts to pick up, Posh Cockney name will be in their minds, and hopefully the phone will carry on ringing and will grow and grow. So that was the real purpose behind it. And we spoke, John, about why did you start the podcast? For similar reasons.
No, it wasn't. I attend a Toastmasters club, which is like a public speaking club. And one of my projects was, one of the options I had for a project was to launch a podcast. And it had been in my mind. I did podcasting like years ago. I often joke around that I was probably one of the first people to ever get pod fade, because I think I maybe did 3 or 4 episodes and then just, I don't know. But it was just me doing it by myself. And it's gutting, actually, is that something I haven't said publicly before, but I actually lined up a guest, a guy called Lewis House, and Lewis, I spoke with him and everything, super nice guy. He has one of the biggest podcasts now, globally, one of the biggest podcasts. I'm wondering if he would still sort of take honor that commitment to be my guest on a podcast, all these years later. But it's like, oh damn, I definitely skipped out. That's a real testament to me. Had I kept going, who knows? Who knows what would have happened with that? But better late than never, and I really enjoy it. That's the thing I've been finding. I started just thinking be one a month at first, then it ended up being one every 2 weeks, then it ended up being weekly. At the moment it's 2 a week because I ended up with 6 months worth of recordings, and I thought, oh no, but I love doing the show, and it's going too far out. So I need to get things a bit more current, a bit more live. Like 6 months to wait to broadcast a show is a bit too long, right? So so that's why we're doing live now, which actually makes so much more sense on so many more levels, and is actually really good fun. Sometimes get some audience interaction when people are watching live, and different energy. Don't have to do any editing. That's really good as well. And I'm finding it's just a really, really fun thing. Similar to what you were saying about Clubhouse, you said people are really giving in there and sharing and helping. That's how I find the podcasting community. Maybe you have a similar experience, but people just give, and it's not all take or buy my stuff or anything like that. People actually want to help each other and help each other out. And no one is not too many people are just trying to get in that community. And I think the ones who I've come across who are doing that probably aren't making too many friends,
I would say that you made a good point about when you record too far out. When I started the Posh Cockney podcast, I recorded, I think, 35 shows within 3 weeks. So then you're right, they back up, and then things change in the world so much that they're not current anymore. So anyone that's starting a podcast out there, I think the live option is fantastic, and you're doing a great job with that. It's about trying to keep making sure that you're up to date with current affairs, because there was so much happening and changing in the world at that time that I was
having to jig things around. I did an episode with a really great guy, Mark Williams, who's like an expert on LinkedIn, and I knew that if I didn't put that episode out quickly, a lot of the stuff we talked about just wasn't going to be relevant, because it was stuff that was going on with LinkedIn right now. Like, he's one of those guys with his finger on the pulse for what's actually going on right now. So it's that kind of thing. Just think a live show just makes so much more sense on so many levels, and I think it's more fun for me too. And I love the idea that people potentially can actually comment and join in whilst we're live on air as well. It is like having your own TV channel almost. Although no guarantees that people are going to sort of tune away from what's on the regular TV to come watch this. But I think more and more people are doing that. And so your stuff is mainly going out on YouTube and social media. Is that right?
Well, we are going to be going live in a couple of weeks. We're launching season 3, Living the Dream, on the Posh Cockney podcast, which will go live across similar platforms. I'm actually going to use StreamYard as well, which seems like a great product. For us, I love the face-to-face. The Posh Cockney TV, the best videos we have is when I'm literally in the room and I'm having that face-to-face interaction with somebody. As much as it's great to do online, I think that they get the biggest hits for me. So I'm holding back a little bit on the video till we can actually see people properly and the lockdowns are lifted here. So we've got some big projects for 2021.
Yeah, I would love to do some live episodes myself, but it generally would involve most of my guests flying them to Valencia or me flying to them, which isn't necessarily practical and doesn't make doing the whole show very easy. It's not a significant enough part of my life to be able to do that right now, unfortunately.
Well, it depends who's paying, John. If you're paying, I'll be over in 5 minutes.
Well, exactly that. If somebody wants to pay for me to fly over and join them for a show, I'll more than happily set that up. Staying COVID safe and all of that, of course. But one thing that's great with this is get to have these conversations with people from all around the world, and so long as we can make something fit with the time zones, it's all good. And not quite the same energy as being in the room, but it's still nice. And I'm great to have this here with you. For you in terms of business, there's so much going on with what you do. How do you stay on top of all of that and keep track of everything that's going on?
Do you know what, John? It's difficult. It can be tough. It can be overwhelming at times, and that's me speaking from the heart. And because of the uncertainty and how difficult it is to plan, that's the one thing I've done this year is making sure I write stuff down more. And as simple as that sounds, it's actually getting my projections, my forecasts for the year and all my businesses, and making sure that I'm in a better position than I was 12 months ago. And when coronavirus hit the world, and talking about my business right now, I did not know what I could plan my business for the next 12 months, because I didn't know if events would happen. I didn't know if people would be going on holiday. I didn't know if clients would freeze my contracts because of the pandemic. So this year is all about planning for me. I'm spending, an hour a day in the morning when I wake up. No phone. I was really bad at having my phone as soon as I woke up, checking bank balances and, just silly things. Now I wake up, and I straight away start writing down the plan for the day or the week or the month, anything that I need to keep on top of. And then obviously the gratitude goals as well. And, being thankful for everything I have, and making sure that I'm putting a positive message out into the universe. I think I believe in that quite a lot. And that positive mindset, I think, is the key to many successful businesses, and especially entrepreneurs. In dark times, you need to have that, because when things are going well, you can't just, take that for granted. I think when things are going bad, you have to have that same balance, so that's what we're doing right now. I think it's just omnipresence. That's what we do at Posh Cockney. This is what I do. I make sure that, I want to be on every channel. I want people to know my name, the brand's name. I'm a nice guy. I've got a great team, and, we're honest and loyal. And that's our two principal things that we tell our clients. And, you can trust us. And that's what we are. We're proven specialists in our field. And we're just here to help you grow your business.
Yeah. From where I stand in the world, and from what I see online, it seems like those are some of the most important things to be thinking about right now in terms of business. I think we're moving, and I hope as well, I think we're moving past the days of the sort of slick entrepreneur who's all sort of wads of cash and great production value and big promises and everyone's super pumped up, but not necessarily really delivering on that. And maybe not having that sort of level of trust or accessibility even that you would want to have. Whereas now things seem to be moving much more down the path of relationship marketing, and we want to feel like we have a connection to the people who we do business with or who we buy stuff from. We're far more likely to do that. I think things were moving that way. I feel like things were moving in that direction anyway, but COVID and everything has really accelerated that. I don't know, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, relationships has never been a more important time to, pick up the phone to a client and speak to them one-to-one. If you can't, if they might be on a different side of the world, but building that relationship and making sure that you get to know their family. I like my clients, and then I normally only work with people that I like, because you have to build that bond from the start. I mean, look at me now. I'm about, as soon as this finishes, I'm going to go for a 10-mile run, because you have to fit your schedule in for making sure you look after yourself. And when you feel better about yourself, you can do better things for your clients, I believe, because if your judgment's a bit cloudy and you're not in the right mind space, then it's difficult for you to perform. And if you can't perform, your clients are missing out, and you're not giving them a just service. So, it's working from home it has its challenges, but you have to try and keep with that structure as if you was in an office in London or wherever you are around the world. So at lunchtime, I'd always go for a run or whatever that may be. So, I think there's never been a better time even though you've got these apps like Clubhouse and you've got, social media has never been stronger. That phone call to a client and having 5-10 minutes and just talking about non-business related stuff can be much more effective than just, sending 2 emails or whatever it may be. I think you need to build the connections. And during this COVID time, there's never been a better time to do it, because they're not as busy as they once were. They might not have been able to take that call before, and, they live in a frantic lifestyle. So if there's one thing I've learned, it's about, honesty, and just showing and sometimes being a bit vulnerable and telling people, this is the problem, this is what we need to sort out, and things get worked out much better that way than keyboard warriors, which I'm not a fan of.
Yeah, no, me either. But I get the appeal of it. It's very easy to get drawn into all of that stuff, and I think it's one of the voices who I've heard sort of saying this perhaps more than other places, but I definitely know other people are saying it, is that Gary Vaynerchuk will talk about being a creator rather than a consumer, and that's a message that stood out for me above lots of other messages right now, and something that I will regularly question myself about. Am I consuming other people's content, or am I actually creating? And I think even just getting into that whole mindset has got me much more focused on creating and putting in output. And I think I can, whilst there's no harm in being a consumer, you want to be that as well. Is that the side of the line that I want to be on? No, I want to be on the creator side and putting out content and value, helping people. I put out a live show this morning and a few live shows last week, and feedback that is coming directly back from people is about helping them and making a difference, or getting value from it, taking big takeaway messages home from it, and all these sorts of amazing things. That's what I'm doing it for. Is that is big. I want people to be coming back and saying, oh yeah, that's really helpful to me, that's valuable, glad you put that out there, that was a really useful conversation, or I took something home from that. It's a big part of my motivation. I always wanted to be out, always had a goal of being out there making a difference for people. And whilst historically that's been more on a one-to-one level in coaching or small groups, now there's not really much of a limit on that.
I mean, I've been tracking your social activity for the last couple of weeks, and you are relentless at the moment. So fair play to you. But you're putting out good stuff, John. So well done you and the team that you work with. And I think people.
This is the team. You're looking at the team.
Okay, well, even better then. But I think what people remember is the people that have been relentless during this time. And I was reading Eddie Hearn's book. I did an audio book review on Posh Cockney TV the other day, and it's all about relentless and just driving through, having that passion and drive, and making sure that people, they see you in the good times, but they see you even bigger in the bad times. Because if you go ghosted or dark when things get tough, people will remember that. They want to know who's in the front line and helping each other out in these times.
Yeah. Now that's something we connected on when we spoke before, is the book review thing. I haven't done any for a while, but for a while I was putting out like weekly, short, minute and a half weekly book reviews, just of whatever I've been listening to on Audible. I listen to a lot of audiobooks there, and you're an audiobook fan yourself. What is it about that for you, and what's the importance of learning in your life, in your business life?
I love just hearing inspirational stories, and again, I like to hear the narrator speak, so that's why the authors narrate. And that's why I like an audiobook, because it's the freedom of being able to do what you want. If you're doing the housework, you're doing business, or whatever it may be, you're still connected. And previously I was terrible at reading books because I didn't have the time to sit there all the time and just read, because it's quite consuming of your daily routine. But audiobooks now, I read 2 or 3 a week, listen to 2 or 3 a week, and I really feel like I know that person, and I take at least, I've got my notepad there taking notes, just being a sponge, John, and taking information in. I think right now, when you've got more time on your hands, that is all you should be doing, is learning all the time, self-development. And every one of my clients and my staff, I tell them to, go and do courses, go and, speak to people. If you need a mentor, reach out to a mentor. If you want to speak to somebody outside the business for a bit of guidance on how you should push your career forward, development is key, because every 24 hours that goes past, if you haven't learned at least 2 or 3 things, could be small, but try and learn all the time. And that's what I do. And audiobooks, I always feel I pull something out of there that I can use for my own personal wealth.
Yeah. Why then did you decide to start reviewing some of these books?
I believe a review it's your own personal opinion, but also I think that it's important for other people to understand what this book's all about. If I'm reading it, I'm not saying I'm a huge person or famous or anything like that, but I know I've got a following that likes what I put out there, and they like what I like, which is important. So with the review, it's only 2 minutes long, and it's just a snapshot of what I pulled out of that book, and so it gives the listener or the viewer the opportunity to go and experience it for themselves. And I'm quite honest. If I like the book or don't, then I'm going to say it. So I think at the moment, when you're creating content, I think it's the best content you put out there is stuff that is relevant to you and actually means something to you. And if you can share that journey with people and just say, look, this is what I'm doing right now and it's benefiting me, why don't you try it?
Yeah, well, when I have a bit more time, and that's certainly not going to be this month or next, but when I have a bit more time, Success Books Review, my podcast is going to be getting launched. My third podcast is going to be getting launched there as well. But that whole principle, similar to you, but I mean, very much focused on personal and professional development books, non-fiction, and stuff that I found most valuable, and that I think other people in the personal development world, or who are at least interested in that area, the ones they should check out. I don't even want to spend any time on books that I just felt like were a waste of time, or full of claptrap or woo-woo stuff that you can't really use, and focus on the stuff that actually works and makes a difference for people. But yeah, I think it's important, because one thing you don't really have so much of, other than trying to gauge, like, from Amazon reviews and the stuff, is this worth reading? You know, on Goodreads you can get some idea of it, but you really maybe need a bit more of an insight than someone who's just reviewing it, or maybe someone who's like a peer. Who I found I was looking at a book yesterday, and there was a review from someone who's in a similar industry, I mean, like a trainer, and I was like, okay, that's actually really helpful, because it's someone that I can relate to, and they're giving the perspective that I would want on the book, from is it useful for them in their work, is it helpful? And I was able to sort of make a decision as to, okay, I should definitely check this book out, because this person is relevant to my market. And then that's what's important about it. There's still space for that, but learning I think is a really big part of life anyway. There's in my opinion, there is some stuff you need to know really, really well, like whatever, if you're in your industry, like you want to know about stuff that's relevant to what you do professionally as much as possible. Like if there's some really good, useful work that people have put out there that are super relevant to what you do, you should know them inside and out, ideally. And other stuff you can be more sort of passing. You might pull out bits here and there and find some stuff useful, but you maybe don't need to know it quite so in depth. Do you find that for yourself?
Absolutely. And one thing I've tried to take on during lockdown 3.0, is the team I have at Posh Cockney is great, and they all do fantastic work. I would like to sometimes know a little bit more about what they're doing, because, you know, I'm not trying to say that I know everything about my business front and back, because I bring specialists in to also help with us push this forward. So, you know, I'm going on courses, which sometimes would say, "Why, Liam, you're a successful business owner, why would you go on courses?" Because I want to learn. I like to recap the basics on certain things, just to make sure just making sure you're getting your creative juices going, making sure your brain's working all the time. You know, and again, it can just be on in the background, but you're picking stuff up all the time, and you might have forgotten stuff. You know, our brains are so busy and so active with, you know, content and news, that sometimes you need to I'm just a sponge at the moment. I'm podcasting here, listening to podcasts, watching, you know, documentaries, you know, and I'm enjoying it. It's like doing a master's degree this whole year, because you're picking out different parts of the industry, and, you know, what's the e-commerce side like there? That's different. You know, how are people doing? You know, again, Clubhouse, a brand new thing to try and get your head around within a couple of days, because you want to be able to, you know, come on here and talk to you a little bit about it, or what have you. So, you know, I think if you could invest time, 1 to 2 hours a day, in your self-development, learning, listen to a podcast, listen to your podcast, listen to my podcast, you just get a different insight, and sometimes you think you're always right, and I've been victim of this a few times, but you're not. Sometimes a different point of view can change that. You can change your look on a certain situation. So, you know, just getting that knowledge from whatever outlet it can be, I think it's so beneficial, and yeah, I'm really enjoying it.
That's great. Yeah, there is so much information out there, and I think that's why it's good to find, when you find someone who's giving you good information, when you find a podcast that you like that's sharing really useful stuff and content that you can apply, and guests that you really like, you know, tune into it regularly. It may not be every show that you love, unfortunately, that's just the way the world is, but you'll probably find more often than not that there'll be shows that you're really going to get a lot of value from. Who are your favorite podcasters at the moment?
Do you know what? I like listening to some of my friends' podcasts that aren't, you know, your Joe Rogans and stuff like that. I like Dodge, who has the Eventful Entrepreneur. He's doing some great stuff at the moment. You know, in terms of podcasting, there's I'm helping people put together podcasts at the moment, so I'm actually learning. I'm putting a team together now. There's two big people in hospitality that are looking to start their own podcast. Now, you've probably been asked this as well. People are coming to us to set up their own podcast and how the functionality works. So, it's very time consuming, as you know. So, I've got a team now that are putting together YouTube channels and podcasts so they can align and they can create their own brand on the back of that. So, in terms of recently, Joe Rogan obviously is great. The Peter Crouch podcast is fantastic. Good, funny football stories on there. Rio Ferdinand just brought a new one out. Again, lots of mine go back to the sport as well, because I can relate to a lot of their journey and what they're doing, because lots of them are talking about what they're doing next. Because I've already been in that position, I can relate very well.
Yeah, I did meet Peter Crouch once in my flight attendant days. History for me, but I didn't actually know who he was. Someone else had to point it out. If you're not David Beckham or someone super famous, I'm probably not going to know in the world of football. But yeah, it's good guys. So these guys got podcasts out. Yeah, I like listening to some stuff that isn't always just the sort of top names. I don't listen to so much Joe Rogan these days, but I still do like Tim Ferriss. It's still fun. Some of his shows are really cool, but there are so many great podcasters out there, and I've tuned a lot more into things like public speaking podcasts, because I do a show that's around presentation skills and public speaking, and things that are sort of in similar areas to me, and just from even connecting with other podcasters, I've been introduced to some really cool shows that are out there that you may otherwise have no idea about. It's just totally worth checking around, because there's really lots and lots of cool shows out there doing all, whatever your interest is, whatever sort of you think you've got some weird interest or that no one else is interested in, you'll probably find there's a podcast on it, right? It's just one of those kinds of areas. In terms of making the move for you from being someone who is I guess you started off in the entertainment industry for a bit. I mean, we could call football the entertainment industry, really, kind of, right? Although it's professional sports as well. But was it an easy move into actually doing presentation work? Because like you did DJing stuff as well. When it came to actually being on a camera and speaking and stuff like that, did that come naturally for you, or did you have to do a bit of work at it?
I actually loved it. I've always loved being behind the camera, behind and in front. Actually, I used to, when we were young lads in the changing room, I would interview the other players just to try and get them better and a bit more up to speed, and how a journalist would interview a young football player. So moving into sort of hospitality, I'd always be asked by newspapers to give an interview on what the venues we're working on, what big events we're doing for the rest of the year. So I was always very comfortable with media. And then going forward, then, when you're talking about your own business, sometimes actually it's easier to talk about other people's businesses than your own. Do you ever find that, John? Because
I do, yeah.
Yeah, because you learn, you're talking about your clients so much to other people and selling them, that when you come to selling your own business, you're like, whoa, hold on a minute, that you start seeing flaws. And again, this year has helped us, brand new website, new branding, everything like that. So sometimes you can overlook your own personal product because you're selling other people so often that it's been a great year for redevelopment for us on many things, because looking at when you're not selling your clients as much as you was during the year before, presenting you as a business and me as a person, I'm very big on self brand, and Posh Cockney, I like to be the face of that, and I wear that flag. So yeah, presenting for me, I've always enjoyed it. Guest speaking, public speaking has been something I've done a lot of now. So
it's a fun thing for you. Yeah, it always surprises me how many people I end up speaking to on the show who are more like from an introverted perspective like that. My sort of natural personality type is introvert. I'm not the super out there extroverted person. But a lot of people say to me, really, that's your personality type? Like, yeah, you meet me out on the street and I don't know who you are in some social situation, I'm probably going to be that person who's kind of quiet and not all that talkative, because that is more my natural sort of place. Depends on my level of comfort, right? But on my own podcast, or when I'm doing group coaching or live events and trainings and stuff like that, I come out of myself. It's not that that's not me. It is still me. It's just I step more into my extrovert self. I think maybe I've talked about this before with other guests, but I've shifted the dial more to sort of ambivert. Like I can go between the two, and be very happy being extroverted in certain situations, because I think that's kind of a big deal for some people, just being on camera or having their voice heard or their face seen or both, and actually being out there. It's like as soon as you've got stuff out there, you're kind of, some people feel like you're a target. You're a target for people to fire stuff out, which some of it might be good and nice and uplifting, but a lot of it's not. and that's just something that comes with it. Like you said, you got a lot of criticism earlier on, but you have to ride that stuff through. Nobody gets to really start something off or do something where you're actually putting yourself out there and rising up above the crowd without some naysayers, without some criticism and feedback that you might rather not have. But oftentimes there's little bits of gold in that. Many people in my network who come back and give me bits of feedback that have really helped me to grow from. It hasn't been necessarily positive, but it hasn't been nasty either. It's just been feedback. It's like, okay, maybe you should do a bit of work on this. Maybe here's something good. Or hey, I took a look at your website. It's like, oh dear. It's like, hey, maybe you should work on this. It's like I love getting that sort of stuff. It's having that growth mindset of like the feedback and the stuff that comes back is food for you. It's stuff to grow from. And I think when you get more into the growth mindset of things, whatever comes back to you, you'll handle it and you'll grow and you'll develop from it. So long as you don't let yourself take it too personally.
I think taking things too personally has been, when I was much younger in business, that really affected me. And I'm sure, and again, I think that goes back to the football days. I never liked a manager shout at me or tell me I was doing something wrong on the pitch. So I really, I had some big disagreements with managers actually thinking about it. So it's that leaving that ego at the door and making the right decision for your business instead. I think that's a big factor. And talking about your introvert extrovert thing, I think I'm pretty similar to you actually, because during the entertainment business and football, you have to put on this persona, this bravado all the time, where you're, on stage, and it's like, once the curtains are drawn, you then go back into much more of a quiet person. When I go home, my wife will tell you I'm not bouncing around the house. I'm quite relaxed and quite mellow and, taking things in my stride. But I do feel that there is almost like, a split personality sometimes, if I say that, where you have this person where you're on camera to people and you're giving it everything, you're speaking from the heart, but then sometimes you'll have the person that's much more relaxed and chilled, and I think that's what I am as well. So we're quite similar in that sense.
Cool. Now, what's the best bit of business advice you've ever been given?
I've had a lot of advice from people, and actually one of the big ones was that not taking things too personal. And I've got to be honest with that, because you touched on it there and I'm going to cover it again. I literally, if a client turned down a proposal, or I didn't get the deal, or somebody wouldn't take my call, I took it really personally at the start. I was like, do you not know who I am? Like, this is crazy. Why don't they want to work with me? And when you start realizing, look, don't take it personally. It's business. And you start getting that around your head. And in the early stages, then you're like, okay, it's the process. You have to earn that trust. You have to make yourself a name in that industry first before people will take you seriously. So we worked hard at that. And now, if somebody doesn't have time for the meeting or the call, no problem, have a great day. We'll catch up soon. I think, for me, the biggest one for me, because of when you're a footballer, you do build up this big ego. So I'm been chopping it down slightly during the years. I think just not taking things too personal in life, and just remember to have that family life balance. That for me is a huge, huge key for my success. Making sure that I give my wife and my daughter the time they deserve and they need, and they then will return that respect with allowing me time to work when I need to, especially as we're all working from home at the moment. It's never been more important for that.
Yeah. Absolutely that. And we need to start wrapping things up. So we'll have to wait for another conversation to find out what the worst business advice you've ever gotten was. But one thing we maybe do have enough time for quickly is your best book recommendation right now. What's the book that you would tell people, like, say, oh, hey Liam, what should I be reading right now?
I'm reading, I mean, you've probably heard this 1,000 times. I'm reading it for the fourth time, Grant Cardone's 10X. I love that book because for me, Tim Ferriss 4 hour week. Okay, that is so opposite to how I work. I'm 100%. I'm making 100 calls a day, 100 emails a day if I can, if I'm not doing other stuff. And I love that sort of pushing myself forward all the time. And I've read it 4 times because I just need to refresh my mind, or that I need to keep pushing. Again, the omnipresence way of thinking for us is making sure that people know who we are and what we stand for and why we are here and how we can serve you. So, Grant Cardone's 10x rule, I've read it 4 times. I couldn't speak highly enough.
Yeah, it's interesting. Grant Cardone is one of those people that some people are a bit Marmite, right? Not everyone loves him, and I know there's been he's had a difficult year himself, but several people have recommended his books, and I haven't read him yet, but I'm going to have to start taking these recommendations to heart and checking out some of his books and see, because it sounds like there's some good content in there. So Liam, I just want to say thank you for coming and joining me today. I know we got to a bit of a late start for Wi-Fi issues and the lights, but it's been a really great chat, and I certainly look forward to chatting to you again in the future, and hope things do pick up very quickly and recover in the hospitality industry as soon as they're able to, so that you can keep going from strength to strength. And I'm certainly going to be tracking what goes on with Posh Cockney TV and the likes. And what would be your final words to leave everyone with today?
First of all, John, thanks for having me on the show. It's great to connect with you, and congratulations on all your success on the podcast. Guys, for me, just keep believing in yourself. Wake up every day and make sure that you give it everything. Don't lose that 24 hours. You don't get time back. You can, and I spoke about this a lot, self-development, learning, love the ones around you, and make sure that you start planning for the future, and make sure that your business can survive anything. Because if we've been taught any lesson during this last 12 months, it's don't get caught out again for me. So yeah, thanks for coming. Thanks for having me on the show.
How can people get in contact with you if they want to know more about you and what you do?
Yeah, of course. So reach out to me via email at liam.norval@poshcockney.co.uk. You can reach out to me on Instagram at Liam Norval, Twitter at Liam Norval, and the Posh Cockney as well, www.poshcockney.co.uk.
Fantastic. I'll make sure all that goes in the show notes when this goes out on the podcast networks, but I hope people will come and check you out. Thank you for your time today. I've really enjoyed speaking to you, and I look forward to chatting with you again in the future, and very glad we connected. Liam Norval from Posh Cockney. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, John.